I didn't hear that, John, could you?
Get that.
Say that a little louder.
This is to formally advise that as required by General Law, Chapter 38, Sections 18 through 25, and pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law on June 16, 2021, as extended by Chapter 2 of the Act of 2023, the Yarmouth Community Preservation Committee will hold a public meeting at the date and time noted, Wednesday, February 21st, 2024 at 3 p.m. And the public is welcome to attend either in person or via alternative public access provided
Above.
above.
Take roll call attendance. Paul,
Paul Huggins here.
Lee Hamilton here.
Christine Marzigliano here.
Judy Wilchinsky here.
George Schlammer here.
Gary Ellis here.
Okay. So we're going to start. This is Jen Mullen. She's the new finance director.
Hi, Jen.
Sorry
And
about my back.
everybody
Welcome.
knows Karen Green, the community development director. But yeah, Jen was going to give us some information on the budget process.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. So I just want to start off with, I was, reviewing the town meeting warrant and, do you want me to sit at the
On
table?
the chair down there.
I won't bite, I
Yeah, you
promise.
can say that.
Whatever Thank you. So I was reviewing the current town meeting warrant and looking at the way that you're voting your reserves and your projects. And one of, something that kind of stood out to me is that, and let me back up for a minute, and because I don't do the accounting here, but I'm a town accountant as well, certified town accountant. So I've been doing this for a while. And so what I noticed was, in Article 29, you're voting your reserves from your estimated annual revenues, which is perfectly fine. That's what you're supposed to do, the access to either appropriate or reserve 10%, right? So Article 29 is fine. And then, but that doesn't take effect until July 1st because it's your estimated revenues for FY25, right? And so then in the next article, I see that you're appropriating from the housing reserve, 200,000, 189,723 from the housing reserve and 10,277 from the undesignated. And so this is where I looked at it and become somewhat problematic accounting wise, is because when you vote from a reserve, you're supposed to have the money in that account when you vote it, when you're at town meeting. So anytime we vote from like any type of reserve, that means we have the money in that account on that date. And so I'm just trying to it's really housekeeping. It's not
Right,
changing
right.
anything. You're not
Instead of
changing the money you
anticipated
have.
reserve,
Yeah.
it's supposed to really be there.
Yeah, so when you think about it, right? So if I'm in my accounting world and I'm looking at the warrant, so I look at, Article 29, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna debit this and I'm crediting, let's say I'm crediting estimated annual revenues, but I'm not. So I put the money in the reserve from Article 29, right? So I put the money in the reserve. And then on 30, I'm taking the money out.
Mhm.
So I'm doing the same, like hitting the same account on two different articles. So my suggestion is to just take the estimate on Article 30, use your estimated revenues instead of the reserve. And then you don't have to reserve that
Mhm.
amount because you've appropriated it.
Just changing it.
Yeah, and it's an accounting that we do anyways, during the year. Well, I had a good conversation with Maria about this right before the meeting. So the way we do it here is, you'll vote this, and then she does the accounting at the end of the year. And what this allows us to do when the wording lines up that way, we do the accounting in the beginning of the year. So what we would do is, okay, we're not going to reserve 189,723, we just appropriated. I would use the whole 200 from estimated reserves. And then a little bit more, not difficult, but different is you have your 45,000 from historic reserve, right? So then what we would do at the beginning of the year, we would reserve the 189 minus the 45. That becomes a true reserve. So that is in your reserve balance sheet account as of July 1st. Yeah. And then the next one, we'll reserve the whole 189. And so that helps us, align what's being voted on in the town meeting warrant of what we're actually doing accounting wise. because when I first looked at it, I was, and then I'm looking up the balances and I'm like, wait a minute, there's no money here. You know what I mean?
You didn't like that? I don't know
So-
why.
And so then I had conversation, I'm like, okay, if we wouldn't mind doing it that way. And so I think what's in front of you today is that it's just wording that says it
Mhm.
allows us to appropriate or not to appropriate or reserve. So the accounting, with that wording, it allows the accounting office to do the accounting for you.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Mhm.
If you're amenable to
Yep.
that. What else I wanted to mention, thank you for, because sometimes this can be just kind of confusing to understand or even explain.
Well, I'm confused. Kind of.
And,
I trust the other experts at the table.
And
Could
so-
I ask a question?
Sure,
So
absolutely.
you're proposing that that the wording example in 30 be changed in some fashion. What would it be?
Yeah, so you have a copy, so Jen, can you hold
Yep.
that up?
Oh,
So we have
okay. Okay, I'll-
revised articles there.
We don't have that
Which
copy.
you
Yeah, on
guys
the front-
ultimately need to
No,
vote.
yeah, on the front of that, it
Oh.
says new and old on the top and
So
bottom.
that's- Yeah, and that's the Article 29 has the old on top, the thing that you're used to
One is
seeing.
here and the
Oh, oh,
one is
okay.
there.
That way. And then the new wording is the bottom half of the page where it says new, so you could see.
Yeah, got it. Okay,
Change.
thank you. I didn't look through the whole.
So it looks much less prescriptive, but the explanation that we've updated with actually stemmed from the town council.
Excuse me, this is a CPC meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense.
My wife, Mary Ann, just took a spill.
Oh, no, is she okay?
Hospital, so she won't be attending. She'll be
All right.
okay.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, tell her we send her love.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Does you
Are
need
you all
help right
set?
now?
No, they took her by the ambulance, so she was just coming in the door and she missed.
Oh, boy.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, she's
Thank
okay.
you. Poor Mary.
Yeah, she fell here.
Um, So the article that we're proposing, that's listed under Article 29 new, actually, it's much more general. It leaves the accounting to the accounting office to do their thing and put the money where it belongs.
Yeah.
Based on your committee votes and all. But the language actually stemmed from a suggestion that town council made a couple of years ago. So they've had a look at it. It's very general. It just, says we're, following the law, we're budgeting. We did include in the motion the specific amount, I think, for the
Mhm.
administration, just to make that perfectly clear. And then in the explanation, it calls out your consideration that you wanted 10% and that 189 or 187. I can't remember which one it is. 189.723. Oh, 189.7, that's why I'm getting confused. That you wanted that, you intended that to be for each of the reserves. So the next articles have the change in language that Ben was talking about. So I think the first one is the housing article. So you can see that it switched from, before we used to say you'd take from the housing reserve and you'd also take from the undesignated. This time we just lump it in, it's in the anticipated receipts or estimated revenues. And then did it on the historical article. And then what happens is Jen and her crew do the accounting and put the balances into the reserve, so they're there when we need them. And the last article was the kind of open space / recreation ones that we were utilizing the undesignated bucket for, because the funding is already there in the undesignated bucket. Like Jen said, we can actually spend it because it's really there. It's not just that we're anticipating.
Yeah, you
Very
can
clear.
spend it right away. You don't have to wait till July 1st. So, and just not to confuse the matter more, but the way I look at it from like a 30,000 foot level, and the way I've told, past CPC committees, is that you always, well, the recommendation is you always want to maximize your reserves. So when you have projects, you want to use your estimated revenue. That keeps the money in your reserves. In the reserves, when the money's there, you can spend that at any point or appropriate it at any point at any town meeting you know, if you had a special town meeting in August, you can appropriate from your reserves. So when you maximize your reserves, it gives the committee the best opportunity to jump on a project. When you're spending from your reserves and you're not spending from your estimated revenues for projects, you're waiting till the end, another year for that estimated revenue to all come in, or the revenue to all come in and go to your undesignated fund balance. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So I just wanted to end with that. I mean, it's just something to think about as you're looking at your projects and all of that.
Does that slow down the process? I mean,
No, it doesn't
No.
slow down the
No,
process
'cause
at
we
all.
have the money available.
you have the money.
For
So
them to figure out the balance in our checkbook, we've got it already in a separate account that we can,
We know
Pull from-
exactly what you've got.
Yeah,
We're not guessing what's gonna come in for the property tax revenues.
yeah,
and
yeah, okay.
Registry of Deeds.
And so we never approve a project based on anticipated money,
I think we've got a change of
but did we do that in the past?
at this point.
Did we do that in the past? I don't, yeah.
You did?
That's what I mean by slowing things down. Not sure.
I mean, it's up, it's really up to the committee. Maximizing your estimated revenues, it just, and keeping, and when you vote from a reserve, when you actually, you have the money in your reserve, that money is available right away. So, depending on the project, sometimes you might have an application, and this is what I've run into the past. You might have an application that came in, they want to move quickly on it, and so you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna appropriate from a reserve, like an undesignated, or sometimes it can wait until July 1st. If it's a big project, right, you're bringing in, say, $1 million in your estimated revenues, and it's a big project, and you want to keep your reserves in case something else comes up, then you can appropriate from your estimated revenues of that. And then, that's effective as of, the money's available, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other thing with estimated revenues, again, not to really complicate it, but I'm gonna just throw this out there. So you can, I know. So you can appropriate from estimated revenues for like FY 25 until we set the tax rate in like September. Once we set the tax rate, it takes your estimated revenues off the table. You can't,
Then you know what they are.
right, because we just set the tax rate on our estimates. So then after that, if you need something right away, like you can go back in April and next year's estimated revenues, but if you have a project and you want to look, you want to use you only can use your reserves after that. That makes sense.
So once town meeting votes on something, and it's already, the money's already there, you can release that money before July 1st.
Yep. Yeah.
And that we've always done.
Yeah, some communities have done it like a special within the annual.
Yeah,
I
we
don't know if
haven't
you've never
been
done
there.
it that way.
Yeah,
Okay, so we
no.
won't confuse it even more.
oh, come on.
Not in years and years and years here.
And I'm just getting to know how, Yarmouth is doing things and just trying to,
Well, it still has to go through town meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
But it's just
Right
the
after
wording.
Town meeting,
Right.
they can get their money.
Well, yeah,
If
after
the
we get a
money's there.
contract set up and
Right.
the account
Yeah,
is set up.
yeah.
Yeah.
If the reserve is
forth.
there.
with
Yeah.
the policies. Yeah.
So it's like having a credit limit on your credit card, but you've got the money there that you can use. I totally get this money thing.
Good, somebody
Yeah,
does.
where are we
moving it
It's more like a debit card.
Yeah, yeah, debit,
I was
yeah,
gonna say
yeah.
maybe more like a debit card. So these are the draft articles, right? All the numbers look right? That's
So do we have to vote those here for the town meeting?
here. So what, we have a, process improvement. And the town administrator's office has requested that we you already voted the old articles, but we've got new text here. So we'd like you to re-vote the articles as presented here today. We have a prepared motion that's the, and then what I'll do is I'll submit a memo to the office with the new articles referencing the vote that takes place here. Yeah, and you have a copy of the draft memo, so.
Does anybody have any other questions before I make a motion? I'd like to make a motion regarding the CPA fiscal year 25 articles to recommend to the fiscal year 2025 town meeting, the articles and explanations numbered 29, 30, 31, and 32 as cited in the memorandum from Karen Green, Community Development Director, dated February 21st, 2024, and as may be amended for administrative purposes.
I second.
A motion by Christine, seconded by Judy, to voice vote on that. George?
Aye.
Judy, I.
Gary, aye. Christine?
Aye.
Lee, I.
Oh, aye.
Excellent. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 0.
No, that's any questions regarding this, contact Karen.
Thank you. that was great.
Thanks. Thank you.
I,
Do you
I
mind
have
if I just, okay, go ahead.
I just have a quick question.
Sure.
When Karen, when you prepare, the charts and graphs and
Yeah.
everything, you working with financial?
I'm working with Jen to update that spreadsheet to kind of reflect this, this new kind of accounting world.
Yeah, just to make
And-
sure that the dollars
Yeah.
presented are the dollars that are on the
Yep,
books.
they all
yeah.
match. One, I mean, it's a good segue, and I don't know if you were getting to that, Jen, and I think, Donna, did you hand that out?
Yeah, you should have
So-
the,
Yeah,
So you actually do have a draft
Spreadsheet.
of the spreadsheet we were just discussing. But on this front page with the yellow highlight, wanted to also let you know about some changes to the revenue projecting that we did, because we did have, you've got in the last 3 columns for FY '25, there's one column labeled old, that's the last estimate you guys saw, and then a new one that says new. And we wanted to update it because we had 3 years worth of actual exemption figures. So if you all recall, we had historically just budgeted, $500,000 for that exemption figure. It's been around there, but it's growing consistently every year. And so we thought it prudent to include the most current figure. So that was the FY '23 exemption number. So we put that in there. And then looking at the trends, we've done a great job on budgeting and estimating our revenues. But as you all know, things are tighter at the Registry of Deeds and slowing down. So we changed it from a 20% match down to a 15% match. Now, if we get more money, Jen will see it and we'll get it at the end of the year. But just for budgeting purposes, we wanted to be
gonna say
just a little
sorry.
bit more
Yeah.
conservative
Yeah.
on what we did. So you have that. And then the second page, which is there, is kind of a new kind of spreadsheet look. And I know how much like Gary loves spreadsheets right now. But we added, I tried to keep all the information that we had on there regarding the different applications that have come in, but also include this estimated revenue concept so that you can see where the money comes into the estimated revenues and then it gets doled out. Each of the spending, you can see, you still see the $697,500 in appropriations that are proposed. You see the estimated revenue balance of $1.2 million. And then you see at the bottom, each of the reserve balances. So you can see that the and I added in the administration this time, so it's all in one spreadsheet. I know we've talked about that before, but you can see in the historic column that what the reserve balance will be once we set everything up is $144,723, and that's the 10%, assuming it goes through, the $45,000 for the Taylor Bray Farm cottage roof. You can see that housing will use up the full reserve amount, so that what will be in that account later on is 0. And then open space, we're adding that full 189 to the existing balance of $910,000. So you have $1.1 million there. And then where that leaves you is with undesignated reserve is $430,000. And I think that's where, and Jen, you can correct me, that's where it looks low. And I think, Paul, maybe there's like a 1-year lag
Okay.
in having the big balances that we're used to. But you can see that come the end of the year, and this is an estimate, that $1.2 million, Jen, correct me if I'm wrong, That will get at the end of the fiscal year, then it will be
Right.
dumped into the undesignated.
Right.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's exactly.
Okay.
Right.
So we're glad Jen's here, keeping us on the straight and narrow.
Well, it's good,
Do you mind if I just bring up one other thing? And it's really the borrowing. I know that last year you authorized a $3 million borrowing for the Riverwalk project and looked at a schedule where you would have a principal and interest payment this year, but in FY '25. I just wanted to let you know that with the Riverwalk project, we have a lot of other reserves that are supporting that project. And not knowing what the bid is, or it's not gonna come in for a little bit. So we're not gonna borrow on the 3 million this year, so you're not gonna owe anything next year. The year after, next year when we come in with the budget, I'll come in and we can talk about whether you wanna do a principal payment or not.
but when you delay that, I have a project that may come up in 8 years.
Yeah,
So if you
yeah.
delay the bond another year, that, it's coming against the project that may come up in 8 years.
I know, we just,
And you see that delaying is not a good thing. I mean, if it's gonna happen, it should happen so that we can plan for things in the future.
okay.
No, but we couldn't bond on something that
Yeah,
we
so-
don't have a
Right,
number
right.
on.
But I'm just saying, there's a reality here.
No, I understand. And and once the project gets going, we can definitely talk about that. And the reason why I'm not borrowing the $3 million is because, first of all, we don't know if we need the full 3 million. We're not going to be spending it right away. And what we
Well,
have
If you
was,
get it to me, I'll spend it.
and we have something that's called arbitrage. And so what that is when you have a high interest rate, even when you have a high interest rate environment, you always have to make sure that you're not earning more interest than what you're spending. So if I borrowed that 3 million, it just sits there earning a ton of interest and we're not spending the
I
money.
understand.
I can't, and I can't pay back something if I haven't borrowed it. So, and say something happens and the bids don't come in right and that 3 million sits there again for another year, and I understand you want to start paying it now, but that's all part of the planning process too. So you're not spending for it next year, so you can always say in your minds, all right, we're not going to spend $450,000 this year. So it
But-
kind of is reserved in a way where you would ultimately spend it. And then when you start your amortization schedule, you'll have that already. And then you can do that. So there's
there any
different
way of-
ways to handle it.
Instead of showing the actuals, is there any way of budgeting it in a current year?
Or just taking the money and putting it somewhere.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, I don't know if that's.
But
I don't
if
see
you-
the advantage to
you
that.
don't
but
even know how much you need.
Yeah.
So what you would do is you just don't maximize all your revenues. Just say, okay, you could say, right? Because it's all the way you think about it. You can say, all right, well, right now we have 900, estimated revenue balance of 988,000, right? So we're not going to spend 450,000 of that because that's what was the amortization schedule that was given to us. Now that's going to change when we pay
Right,
back, because
right.
when I go out to borrow, we go to the market and we see what the interest rates are. So I'm just using that as an example of what was presented to you all. So you can just say, okay, we're not going to spend that 400. We're not going to spend then what 988. We'll leave 450. We're just not going to touch, and that will roll into your undesignated fund balance. So you can look at it that way.
Just mentally keep a reserve there.
You just don't
Yeah.
spend it. Just don't spend.
We won't
Don't
do that.
maximize it.
Mentally,
Yeah.
we've done it before, like keeping money in the accounts.
Right, well, it's what I'm doing with open space.
Right. And then we can talk about, when I will issue what's called the bond anticipation note. So we're only borrowing for a year and you only owe interest on that bond anticipation note, but you can make a principal payment if you choose to. So we can talk about that when I go to borrow the money, but I won't be borrowing the money for another year. You have plenty of money in the bank to carry this project and we want to see what it comes in at. You might not need the whole 3 million. Who knows?
So the interest rates on the bonds now tending to go up or down?
Yeah, I think they came down a little bit. They were really
Sorry, let's
high
jump.
for a while. No, that's fine. So the good news is we're earning a ton of interest in the bank, right? The bad news is when we borrow something, we're paying high interest rates. And that's one of the reasons why I would just I do a bond anticipation note. When you do a bond anticipation note, you'll have a lower interest rate than you would if you were going out to pay back the principal and interest. And so in this higher interest rate environment that we've seen for a number of years, that's why I would just do a short-term borrowing, among other things, because you're not finished with a lot of the projects I'm borrowing for. So you just want to make sure it's rolling along the way it's supposed to. So I think they might start coming down, hopefully in the next year or two. They've come down a little
I
bit.
think we'll know in November.
I think I went out last June in another community and I borrowed a short-term note. It was 5%. I remember when I would get it for like not even 1%.
Right.
You know, and now I think when I spoke with our financial advisor recently, I think they've come down to like 4%. But, you know, it fluctuates. So, you know, I do look at that. I do look at, you know, getting the best bang for your buck, you know, paying as less interest as possible, and making sure that we're borrowing in a timely manner so that you actually need the cash.
So what interest rate are we getting on the money we have now?
I don't have the bank interest rate, but it was higher than it was like 2 years ago. I mean, we were getting really low bank interest rates. I know where I was, my other community, we might get like 0.3. I don't know what we're getting now. I don't have the actual interest rate.
Right, I've always
but you
asked for
could-
that and I never see that figure broken.
We could take a look at it for you. You want
I
to see
would-
what you're earning on the CPC?
I would be interested.
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely. We can take a look at that for you. No problem.
Okay.
We'll get that for you next meeting.
Where is that reflected?
You don't see it here. That's what I
I don't
was
think
just
you see
bringing
it
up.
until the year-end
Right.
closeout. And then I think it goes.
Reflected in a
Jen, you can
balance?
correct me if I'm wrong. I think then it goes into undesignated.
Yeah, a lot of times when I would project the budget and do project the estimated revenues, I wouldn't project interest rates
Oh,
either because
no.
they were so low. So it really is part of your conservative budgeting.
It's kind of
Right.
gravy.
So, so
Yeah.
whatever comes in gets
I
you
just
know,
know
put-
in the past, you know, we've had $5-6 million just floating out there.
yeah,
And I'm
Mhm.
always like, I hope it's collecting interest.
no, it definitely is. And we'll get that for you.
Okay.
But yeah, for budgeting purposes, we usually don't use, because you never know.
Mm.
You know, it
Oh,
could
I
be
don't care if
super
you put-
low and
You don't want to count on it.
Yeah,
I don't care if you
exactly.
put it at the end. I'd just like to
yeah, you want to know
know
what it is.
right now, this is
Absolutely.
what we think we're getting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll get that to you.
Okay,
We good?
great. Any more questions? I'm sure you got.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's nice meeting you all.
Play
Nice
this
meeting
one.
you.
Thank you. Very good.
All right, thank you, Jen.
So we got that taken care of, right? Where did my thing go?
So we did the revote.
We did the revote and I've also drafted the motions and explanations. So if you want to talk about that, we can. As far as who's going to do which articles at
So
town
when-
meeting,
When is town meeting?
April 30th,
Where is it?
the ugly school, the intermediate school,
The new one?
the new one with the
Did you
happy
say the ugly?
auditorium.
Not big enough.
Yeah, a scary
Right.
scary
Get there early.
auditorium.
What?
Get there early.
Yeah,
You can
because
get a
you don't
seat
want to have
down
to
front.
climb up the ladder to the
How many
Mill Street
seats are in there?
section.
No,
It was,
I don't know.
it was
Were you
full.
in there for the special or?
No, but
No.
my granddaughter goes.
Yeah.
I think it's probably not terribly poorly designed for kids, the auditorium. For adults, it's a nightmare, but
Well, if you've ever been to town meeting, going the kid road is probably better.
Well, kids file in and they sit there for an hour and then they file out. But when people want to get out to speak at the
No, I
microphone,
see.
they have to crawl over 8 people.
the
Yeah.
whole row. And then the upper portion is really, really steep,
Steep.
Yeah.
really steep. Like not sure I could climb up there.
Orleans,
So,
Orleans is like that too.
I think it's set up for the performing arts.
Yeah.
so-
It is.
yeah.
Because sandwich is like that as well. It's very
Yeah.
steep. Yeah.
Is Mattakey just completely closed down and and
No, the
probably still
rec
studying it?
department Is using it for programming. I don't know why we can't use it for town meeting.
Is that,
Probably has to
Propane
do with
heater.
insurance or something.
I mean, that auditorium did work well.
I think
Mm.
that there were some concerns and I'm sure it'll be improvement. Because the special town meeting was the first time we used the
Yeah.
space. I know there were some technical difficulties and. I
Panicking
think
at the last minute.
They'll be working on that. Yeah,
But you
Yeah.
can't redesign the way, if you're sitting at the end of the road, there's
Right.
the wall, that you can't redesign
the
that.
special town meeting.
I didn't get to the
I
last
went down,
meeting.
I went in. And I hadn't been in the building. And then I realized that I was gonna have to get out,
Yeah.
you would have to climb over everybody you just passed on the way in.
Yeah.
Awkward.
Well, they also, in that school, it probably would be a pain in the neck anyway, but they have a stage in the cafeteria
Oh, is there?
and then.
Yeah,
and then-
that's where the school committees are held.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I was there once for a concert and I don't remember how many people could fit in there, but if, you know,
Might be a better option than.
I don't know.
It's not, we
Oh,
wouldn't
it's
be
not
able
big
to
enough.
fit enough in the
No, I
cafeteria.
just don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be a great overflow if there was ever, I
Right,
know sometimes
right.
there's big town meetings where they need the overflow, that would be convenient.
It's almost speaking in the new church. Be close.
I don't think that's big enough for town meeting. The new church,
New church?
Oh, no, it's not big enough.
the acoustics would be great.
But they wouldn't use the high school, right? High school's not any bigger than
I
the,
don't
Intermediate?
I've
think
been there in
so.
years, I don't know.
I thought that there would be a little more discussion about the location, but
they didn't.
I don't
check
know,
with
we
you?
haven't
How
gotten to
come?
print yet. We haven't gotten to print yet. Just wait and see.
It was
I'm
great.
sure, I'm sure some wise decisions will be made about it.
I'm sure.
You could do it outside of it.
I know, that would be great.
Yeah,
Outside
that
on April
was-
30th.
Well, that-
April 30th, can you
Yeah.
imagine?
Yeah, it rained out
It might
last
be
time.
almost as nice as
What?
November, whatever. When
Yeah.
we had that one in the
Hmm,
cold
rain.
rain.
Ah,
That was
boy,
cold.
that was so cold.
It was-
And you guys had me sitting next to Vita. What?
I missed what you said.
He was sitting next to Vida. Morris.
Was complaining to me the entire time, even when I was speaking.
All right, so speaking, are you gonna do
I'll
Article
do-
29,
I will do-
estimated revenue?
I will do that.
You got the article, pardon?
And then the housing one, right?
For the community housing project, I was thinking either of Lee or Debbie. It's just the Affordable Housing Trust general deposit.
I'll do that as long as I know where they need to stay.
Yep, there it is.
Did you
Pay
do
it
that
I'll
last
let you
year?
know if it changes.
You
Yeah.
did it last year, you did
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
So,
I just don't sit against the wall.
no,
Right, you guys will have to be
So
on
it's
the
article
aisle.
there, right there.
That's why if you do an
Yeah.
article, you get an aisle seat.
I think you all gotta strategize. Like an airplane.
Yeah,
And George, I just put you down for Article 31, the Taylor Brave Farm Cottage roof.
That's
You
fine.
good with that?
the rough.
The rough. And then the open space articles, which is the Phragmites management, the town ways to water assessment, and the Kroll Run Pond, Friends of Bass River article. Christine or Paul or who might want to do that?
I can do them if you want. You want
Well,
to do it?
I'll be happy to do it, but if you'd like to do it, that's fine.
Because the motion really is, I move Article 32 as printed in the warrant. Kind of the extent of it, so it's not
And
like
then
it
you
can
read
be
the
split up.
explanation.
Yeah, but then you're standing up
I
there
don't
when it's
know,
weather.
sometimes, I don't know, sometimes. I thought there was a time when the selectmen did it, maybe that was a couple
I
years
think that
ago.
was a couple of years ago. I think last year you all read your explanation.
Did
Do
you?
recall?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so, yeah, Paul could read the Project A Conservation
I
Department.
think there's a lot of conservation.
Yeah.
there, so
I think it's
Paul-
easiest,
Paul can do it.
I mean, no offense. Man, I think it's easier when you just have one person
Yeah,
do it rather than switching off the mic. Especially if you gotta get up and out. of your seat.
Yeah, need to
true, yeah.
I had an aisle seat because I got there early.
Yeah, no, I'll be
take,
happy.
get in aisles.
So are we deferring to Paul or Christine or?
I'll do it.
These are
Article
big
32.
conservation-
Pardon?
These are big conservation.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I think Paul should do it.
that's
I
fine.
think that's good for the Concom.
Yep.
What?
Because then the wetland bylaw comes up
That's right.
not too long thereafter.
Right.
So I
I'm
think
not talking about that one. That would be like me trying to explain how the budget is not.
It's still in.
It's good to have a finance director.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so that's your article. As far as we know, that's like the extent of town meeting prep, right?
As far as I know, we will keep you posted. There may be a, like a town meeting preview. They've done that in the last few years. Leading up to, the actual town meeting date.
Is the meeting at 6?
It usually starts at 6, the town meeting.
Yes.
By reserve seating.
Now we're raising revenues.
There you go.
Great idea.
All right, for project updates.
Can I give my project update first?
Sure.
Is that
Yep.
okay?
That's fine.
So wanted to let you know, we've got the sign ordered for the back to Gristmill, and we're trying to piecemeal together internal funds, just to buy it right away. So it's on order. I think the last thing he was working on is the open closed thing we had on those Lexan runners. So we have that. The Chasebrook Parks project is making good progress moving forward. We will be having
So-
some,
I don't mean to, so this sign will last however long we need it, but can we maybe revisit
yeah,
with
for
a
the
whole new
next
sign for the next
time.
time?
Sure, absolutely.
As long as we get it up for the
He
summer.
said, he said this one should last.
I
a
know, I
bit
just
longer.
don't think the color I don't know where the color comes from.
Okay.
And if
I-
we're gonna be rethinking the town
Mm.
The
seal,
and all, absolutely.
do a nice sign, make them,
Yeah.
all town projects have the same sign.
Yeah,
So
I
we
love
can't
that
do it
idea.
now, I understand.
No. So Chasebrook Parks, we're making good progress. We're working with coastal engineering now under the tie and bond umbrella. And we will be having a public meeting. I think we're scheduling it for March 19. I need to confirm that the selectmen won't be meeting. And that's part of the environmental justice area outreach that we are required to do for some of the other state permits. We do have our notice of intent
So is the bridge,
provided by the Conservation
is the
Commission.
bridge included?
The bridge is included, and so we've got all that permitting underway. We will be going to the Zoning Board of Appeals as well, probably in April. We need to go to get permission for a municipal use in the B2 district. And what else? And we've started looking for grants and plan to submit for, I'm gonna forget the name. It's a similar grant, one that's been issued for the Friends of Bass River. So, but we think that the project has good legs.
So they don't plow the parking lot there. Why is that?
I don't know. I can ask the
I mean, when it
DPW
snows-
department.
What?
We'll ask
When it
DPW.
snows out,
Yeah,
I
I'll
would
ask
think a lot of
DPW.
people would like to take pictures there,
I would guess that it's just not a top priority for the
like the
plowing.
parking lot here, right?
Well,
Which is,
Well,
yes.
yes.
Oh.
Anyways, the next update would be the Taylor Bray Farm. And as you know, we had gone out to bid for soup to nuts on the project and it came in way over budget. So we went back to the drawing board to try to keep the project in the budget we have, which was the $400,000 that CPA approved and was appropriated. Went out just for windows, siding and trim and got a very, very good bid in. I think the number on it was only $140,000.
For all new
which is
windows?
great. It's a great bid, very sharp pencil.
This is
And-
on the barn?
Yeah, this is for the barn. And so excited about that, getting that contract underway and hopefully.
You have to go before Old Kings Highway on that?
We already did go to Old Kings Highway
So
way
you-
back, so it's all like for like.
So you went for white cedar, right, on the sidewalk?
I believe so.
So
I believe so.
just to keep in mind, red cedar now are less than white.
Red is less than white.
Hmm.
It might not be like for like.
It's not like for like, but it would look really nice.
I will double check.
You know, some
Um,
people's idea of like for like is different from Old Kings
Mm,
Highway. like for
yeah.
like, yeah.
What is on the house, Gary? do
That
you
is
know?
red cedar on the roof, white cedar on the sidewalk.
Oh, okay. So,
So I know he's getting for the roof, he's getting red cedar. And I think I told him to get pressure treated
Mhm.
with stainless steel nails.
on the cottage.
On the
Yes,
cottage.
On the cottage. I was asking about the farmhouse.
The
I'm
farm
sure
barn?
it doesn't
The
have
barn
red
or
The
cedar.
historic house, the farmhouse. Not the cottage.
Yeah, it's white
farmhouse.
cedar, I'm pretty sure.
I think it is too, so.
Yeah, but
I'll
the barn,
talk with
if we
Jeff,
could
but-
do red cedar, you'd have to see it. It looks
Yeah.
so nice and old and lasts.
But I'm excited about the project moving forward on budget.
Well, I don't want to hold anything up. I'm just throwing
Right.
it out there.
Yeah, but I'll pass that along to Jeff.
Okay.
So Karen, does that bid include the roof?
It does not.
Does not.
That does not. So the idea is we know we have a budget moving forward with the items that we need the most.
Okay.
And that's the siding, the trim and the windows first.
Mhm.
And then we'll get that done and then.
And the integrity of the current roof is okay? There's no leaking?
Yeah, because it
or-
was part of, we had a roof inspection kind of town-wide, and I think Jeff shared some of that information when he was in to talk about the cottage. It's got
Got
life
life.
left in it.
Okay,
So
Okay.
it's not the most immediate
Got it.
priority.
thank you.
Is that the roof that they used the wrong nails in?
No,
Okay.
Well, that's the
hopefully these were the
cottage.
right nails. That was on the cottage.
Okay.
And then I know George is gonna provide an update on the arch. But
Mhm.
things are moving.
Here,
So
let
good
me,
stuff.
So
you
they're gonna
have,
hold off on the arch until all this crap is done over there, right? I can just see it getting damaged.
All the crap?
They're tearing the road apart every day.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of the
I know.
update, so.
Oh, there's gas lines? What are they doing over?
I don't, I
Or
can't get
water
to,
Yeah, but they're gonna
Water
tear it
main.
up for the
Water.
water, the water main too.
now, George, I printed out a
Okay.
few copies of George's photos because,
Did you want to put it up or?
no, because
Okay.
it's being too glitchy.
Okay.
So,
like I said, I wouldn't put it up till they're done with that road work.
Watch your step, watch your step, watch your step.
So.
Thank you.
They're packing it there.
share, right?
Do you know when the water main is being built? Is that
I
this summer?
don't know. off
We
the
got
top of
water,
my head.
gas.
It's supposed to be this summer.
I think they're
Do you
doing
want
the
to get
sewer
it?
line.
Sure.
Not, they will be groundbreaking for the contract 2 and 3.
The face side.
Sewer.
Sewers,
No,
40 years from
No.
now.
no,
No.
that's a late phase.
Yeah, we'll all be
I didn't
gone
know
by
Then
then.
they can tear the road up again.
Yeah, in 10 years, 40 years. We're section 8.
Yeah, the
I'm not
contract.
gonna
Yeah,
be
not
here.
40 years.
I'm not gonna be
Oh,
around.
you never know.
Me either.
Yeah, I'll be
Please don't,
be
please don't let me
120.
be here.
Me too.
Not gonna happen.
So.
Guinness Book.
Exciting news on the Memorial Arch, and Lisa and I went up to Watertown a little over 2 weeks ago to get an update on where the arch was and in the preservation, and so put a little show and tell here. And so first slide you can see is that the arch was removed for the first time in 95 years in November 6, 2023, and dated, as you can see, the gentleman removing the arch. Next slide is a photo of the arch, and one of the things you notice is it's particularly black. and many years of Rust-Oleum paint. But keep that in mind, that is black. And so what you see on the next slide, and saw evidence of this, when I was taking photos of the geese up top, that there was some bronze here. So what you can see is Daedalus's work has exposed what the arch looked like when it was dedicated on September 8th, 1928. That it was consisted of wrought iron frame and bronze inserts. So that's pretty exciting,
Bronze under that black.
Isn't that amazing?
isn't it? And
I
so.
can't wait to see it.
And so next slide is the right panel, front right panel, and the obverse, and what we're going to look at on the next slide. So if you look at the right obverse, the top panel, you can see a tree with a pointer dog and, flushing out a goose. So you look down below and look at the before and after.
Wow.
Wow.
Isn't that incredible? It is incredible. And, you can see through the tree. You could see the wedges in the black. I mean, they were gunked up and blocked up. But the detail, both from Frank Benson Weston, who's a noted top 10 Impressionist paintings in America at the end of the 1800s and 1900s, and also was a hunter, studied birds, and his etchings. So there are etchings that were replicated, and this is his 3D dimension of his etchings, and I dare say probably the only one in the country. But what's really interesting is look at the wrought iron spray paint. You can see rust, but one of the things you notice are the wrought iron artisans' hammer marks there. So he would have forged the iron, and this was done in Sandwich. If you remember seeing, the forge sign, and well, his name was Percival Forge, and so this is evidence of his, his wrought iron capabilities, which were extraordinary.
So hand
It's
hammered.
amazing.
All hand, yep, absolutely. And so the next slide, again, before and after, I mean, you can clearly see. So this is the dedication in memory of Nathaniel Stone Simpkins, friend of mankind and kind to man's friends. And just a little bit.
Yeah.
So he's shooting them in the first.
Yes. So.
Say it again, please.
I was saying he's kind to man's friends, but he's shooting him in the first place.
Well, kind to his dog and horse and.
Yeah. I'm not
Okay.
judging him.
So this is incredible. And the next one, the other plaque on there is the dedication. Once again, September 8th, 1929, given to the town of Yarmouth by his wife, Mabel Jenks Simpkins.
So George, so the right hand, for example, what you just mentioned, given to the town, that's the original after the removal of the paint, or is that?
Yes,
That's not new stuff.
That's the
Oh,
original,
that's amazing.
isn't it?
Yeah.
And look at the repair, look at the rust shown, on the left side, and look at what the preservationist has done.
I've seen them.
Oh, okay.
What the pres- So you see what I'm pointing at? So, and that's, people would say $60,000 to, do this. Well, this is why we spent that kind of
So
money.
when this goes back up, what are you gonna do when everybody says, why did you replace it with something new?
We can thank
Because I'm
the,
sure,
we can thank the taxpayers. You know, I mean,
because that's what they'll
Yeah,
do. They'll be
nice.
like,
Yeah,
what did they put up there? It's not the old one.
Do some
Yeah.
explaining.
Yeah, you gotta come up with some good answers for that one.
Yeah.
It's part of Captain's mind.
There you go. Yep.
okay, so,
You remember when the road replacement guy, they wanted to move that across
Different
the
light.
way?
To the other side, yeah.
No
Yeah.
way.
so, next slide is, again, um,
It changes the whole feel.
so these,
I'm sorry.
that's, you all set? So the panel showing Benson's etching, this is called the rushes. So this bird is a rush. And just look at the detail and the, you know, what craftsmanship in creating the cloud and, you know, and the reeds and the birds is really extraordinary.
Now, the finished product is gonna be the bronze.
Yes.
And will that tarnish? Does that have to have any
Some
upkeep?
people,
Well,
don't
good.
bring your spray paint anymore.
No, that's right. So what they'll do is they'll put a special coating on it,
Okay,
which will preserve it. And then when we did the CPA bid, it was very important. We asked the contractors to bid a preventive maintenance contract. So this will be yearly instead of once every 130 years. So, so it'll,
it's just beautiful.
it's really special. And then the next slide, and the geese here, there is an etching called the V. And we've all seen, you know, groups of geese flying and they're in the shape of a V. So this replicates the V. And what you can see here is a model that I did of the light from 96 years ago, and have spoken with several lantern companies, one down in Orleans, and when Lisa and I brought this and they put it up on the arch, the preservationist said, that's the light. And, you know, from a balance standpoint, and Mrs. Simpkins specifically in a dedication calls out the light because of the importance of reflecting onto the arch.
It'll
So,
reflect a whole lot more now that it's bronze.
yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
And as you can see there, the onion light, so we don't know when the original light deteriorated and when this was replaced. So the onion light is you know, a current version of outdoor light. So,
Did you have old photographs of the light or something? Is that how-
yes, and so there was a book from 1937 called Cape in the Light, and there's a photo looking through the arch down 6A, and this is what the light looks like.
All right, great.
Yep. So, and you can see Lisa there, you know. I'm thinking of
Admiring.
all the work. When's Slama gonna let me get back to work? No, not
They
at all.
came back,
We
and
had
I
a-
they came back from their field trip, and both of them were so like excited, so excited. It was, it was nice.
So the next slide, you can see, so you can see the top panel is a pointer dog. And so when you see the next panel, you can see the pointer
wow.
dog. And yeah, so you can look at the detail. And one of the things that the preservationist pointed out, and I asked the preservationist, if you look at the dog's tail, you can just barely see that it's shortened. it looked like originally, the original dog, there was a hole in the wrought iron and the tail was affixed in there for stability. And so when you look at the next slide, and Paul, here's the answer to your question. You can see the arch
Right
like,
here, yeah.
and the preservationist pointed out, if you look at the panel, where I have the question mark, the dog is missing.
Yeah.
It's not there.
Wow,
So,
that's a mystery.
so whether somebody helped themselves to it because they liked it. But you can see, you know, my notation appears the original tail was longer and fit into the frame for, you know, stability. So you can see the hole in the side of the frame. So that's a mystery. It is a mystery. So we know 9 years later, because this book was published in 1937, Percival Ford had to recast this panel and put it in. Isn't that something?
It is something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that car is like an 1830.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and next slide is the horse rider. So Mr. Simpkins was a member of the Myopia Hunt Club up in Essex.
Mhm.
So he would have been a rider.
Quite the ride up there from here
Yes.
in those days.
So they had a home up there also, and again, the detail is, look at the cloud. Yeah, look at the flex of the horse's hoof, and
The horse's tail is attached.
exactly.
So that's why you think the dog was attached to
Exactly.
him.
See it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And last but not least, the replica, and this is a replica of the 1886 pound pump. Because in 1928, it had really, you know, seen its best days. So you can see that they started the preservation process, and look at the spout, how, you know, it compares and has been, you know, preserved and,
Is that a working pump?
no. So there's,
Probably at one time it was.
yes.
Okay.
So back in 1886, so the water trough has on it 1886. So it was the year that was, and it was not on this corner. It was up near a school, just down the street on 6A. So it
It is,
was
it was by the firehouse.
right. So, and looking for a photo of that, and I hope somebody, you know, but so this was moved here by Mrs. Simpkins. The trough was moved here, and she had the pump made, and it was installed here.
If you're looking for other photos, have you ever checked with Digital Commonwealth at the public? Yeah, 'cause I was
Lot
gonna
of
say
them,
they would,
Yeah.
if anybody had them, they would have.
Yeah, and
Okay.
The Historical Society has scanned
that's right, thousands, yeah,
their
thousands of them. So.
private collection.
We've been talking about doing a rededication, so save the date. What we are looking at is September 8th.
That's a Sunday, George.
It is a Sunday. Look at it.
So is the trough going back?
The trough is still there. So they will, Daedalus will preserve that also. They'll, you know, clean it up. They'll, so that remains. And so,
Because we have the same exact trough down at the Cotton Bar.
really, and a similar trough down at the library,
Well,
South Yarmouth Library. There's a trough there. I think that's dated 1896 also.
where is it, out front?
Yeah, it's right beside the entrance, so it's facing, you know, you're facing the church, and it's right there. And it has a arch
An arch,
that's
yeah,
not,
yeah.
that's not as historic.
Yeah.
But it's, and so, and spoken with Bob Kelly, and the thought is to do the actual dedication for whether it's weather or whatever, in the Kelly Chapel. It holds 60 to 65 people, and then weather permitting, walk over to the arch and put a wreath on it, and maybe on the trough.
The one we have in
Nice.
Barnstable doesn't have a pump. It has an old wooden bucket that would go down into the well.
Oh, fun.
Interesting.
But we have pictures going way back showing horses drinking.
And does that have the same date on it? Does it have a date?
There's no data,
There's no date. on it.
but it looks exactly the same.
Yeah, interesting. Which would make sense, right? Because the towns would have said, hey, where'd you get that nice
Yeah.
top? And
Nice drop,
And
or
because
something
the,
similar.
because the town was so well run back then, they go, well, if we buy a bunch of people,
For the
George.
dedication, you should ask the people from the old Yarmouth, then it should be earlier in the day. And you can ask them if people can
Oh, that's a
park,
good suggestion.
Yeah.
That's a great suggestion.
because
Yeah.
they open at 4:30. So
Mhm.
if you had a dedication at 10 or 12 or something like
what we're
that,
planning is 1:00.
yeah.
They do brunches some Sundays.
Oh,
Pardon?
that's a good
That's
point
right.
too, because it's
Brunches.
Sunday.
Do they?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I need to leave, but
Sure.
I want to say thank you to
Thank you.
George for all his
You.
work
Thank
on this
you.
project,
Yes,
and
thank you,
especially for
George.
finding
I'll see you tomorrow.
Daedalus. Because Daedalus is amazing, and you should tell them about some of the
Yeah.
other things that were in the workspace, like the tunnel signs.
Oh, yeah, amazing.
They're extraordinary,
Yeah,
Are they
glad-
here in Cape Cod?
No, they're up in
No.
Watertown.
but they do work on
Yeah.
national.
If they have a
Treasure.
brunch on Sunday, maybe Saturday might be better or something.
Well, as from an historic perspective, I think it's really important to do it on the exact same day. September 8th.
Then you have to ask some permission, to
Right.
park. in there.
Well, and no, not asking permission to park. I mean, we'll do the parking.
There's plenty of parking on.
That's right.
Yeah, they can find.
Up in the library, at the post office, up, the people
All the way
can
down the side. of
people
that
can
street
drive
to the
up.
church.
drive up to the church. So I think it's real important that we do it on the exact same day.
One thing, George, this is, I don't know how to put this in the right way, but the dog is a setter, not a pointer. You might want to look into that. And the other thing is, it is.
Out of all those
setter.
pages.
Yeah.
But some wise guy like me was, hey, wait a minute. that's not- It's a probably,
We can't say a
probably an
pointer
English
setter?
Pointer, would you agree?
Yeah.
You're a hunter.
Dog.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, I've hunted over both pointers and setters. And that's a setter. Okay, you might want to just look, right? And the other thing, so that you can head off some obnoxious remarks like I'm making, you might have check on your birds too, because I'm not sure they're geese. They look like black ducks.
They are black.
Well, this may not be important to you, but I think that somebody's gonna say, wait a minute, you know what you're talking about.
Well,
And the other thing is, just as long as I'm going on here, and I think this is beautiful, I think it's wonderful, and I appreciate your work. I've looked at that thing for many, many years, and often wondered about it. In the one frame you have, they look like scarlet tanagers in the yeah, and
call rushes.
well, the rushes would be what they're sitting
Um,
on. I've never heard of a thrush. No.
thrush, excuse me.
Yeah.
It's a thrush. My mistake.
Okay, and the other one, and you might have already talked to somebody about this, where the dog is pointing a bird, and setters, they do point. Where is it now? See, I'm not sure, that's not a goose, that's maybe like some kind of a snipe, or a woodcock or something like that. So, just thought I'd mention it because somebody's gonna mention it. You know,
Yeah.
and you're gonna be historically, ornithologically, and everything else correct.
How,
And I could be wrong, but just look at,
You're
Get
doing
somebody from
constructive.
Audubon.
how,
There you go. Yep.
however, the description of Frank Weston Benson's etching
yeah,
is called the thrushes.
Okay,
So that's,
he could have been wrong too.
I doubt it. Because read his bio. But
Is he an ornithologist?
pretty much.
There you go. Then he's probably right,
Yeah,
because I'm
yeah.
not an ornithologist.
Yeah, so read his biography.
Okay.
A fascinating guy. So, but point well taken. I'm just referring to what was
Written down.
written down. If you
It is-
again look at the etching, what the description is.
I'm sure.
So it's but
But I'm telling you, it's not a pointer.
I understand. But
It was beautiful work.
It's wonderful.
And this is there now. It's there now.
well, it's been removed. It's up in Watertown.
Okay, so
It's
it's
being preserved. Right, but it will be returned there.
At least
When
there's
do
no
they-
Phragmites.
That's right. That's right.
When do they anticipate returning it?
Working with Lisa on that, we'll probably be looking at Wednesday, September 4th. And to give some rain days, the contract is going to be extended, because the contract talked about having it done by early June. But they will hold onto it, because again, we want to do press, we want to,
Yeah. We don't want it
educate
up too
people.
early.
It should
And
be done with the road work by then, so
Right.
that's safe.
Yeah.
right. So that's, and at the time they come down to reinstall this, that's when they will work on the pedestal, they will work on the, trough and, get that straightened out. And
no,
then-
what's the significance of September 8th?
That was the date in September 8th, 1928, that Mabel Jenks Simpkins,
First dedicated this?
first dedicated it.
Okay.
People went to the church, and so that was the dedication date.
Okay, thank you.
And asked and hoped that the town would continue to preserve this and
Whoever painted it black.
well, it's interesting, a year and a half ago, I was over there taking photos. And a gentleman came up and so we were chatting, no, we just moved up here and my wife and I noticed that it was rusting, so we spray painted it.
Well-meaning, but unfortunately.
So as we have a little sign over at the Indian Memorial asking people not to climb on that, I'm gonna suggest that we have a similar sign because somebody finds that it's okay and they attach American flags to it.
Yeah.
And nothing should be attached to it.
Right.
So, but
That looks great
people
so
will
far.
do
It's wonderful.
what they
Yeah.
want to do. Yeah, so this is exciting. Yeah.
So that's incredible.
That's
Good
great.
job.
Good
Good
work.
job, George.
Really nice work.
Thanks.
Well, it's incredible that the neighbor spray painted it. I just think that's.
No, you know,
Paul
like you
said,
say,
good
it's good
meaning, but,
intentions.
so you,
It's not even on their
you-
property.
right, and you lock in the moisture, right, under the paint and
Yeah.
that speeds
Well,
up the
To me, it
deterioration.
also speaks to the fact that maybe the town should take better care of stuff so that people don't go and spray
Yeah.
paint it or whatever,
Well,
you know?
and that's why there's gonna be a
I
contract.
always think of Tom
Yeah.
Kelly used to say, they can't even get around to paint the fire hydrants. Remember
That's
those?
correct.
Yep, so,
Well, we had a blizzard when they first moved to my house in 2014. We had that big blizzard and my water hydrant across the street was all, plowed in. And they asked my neighbor, who's half my age, if she would help me shovel out. And she said, that's not my fire hydrant. It belongs to the street across, the
Yeah,
neighbors
only-
across the street.
Only if my
I
house
thought to
catches
myself,
on
are you
fire.
guys
If you
being
have a
nuts?
fire
Yeah,
hydrant on your property, you're supposed to do that.
Drain, yep.
Yeah, for sure.
I did the last storm, I do it every storm.
Yeah.
Well, that fire hydrant would have serviced your house had she had the fire. that was
Yeah.
going.
Exactly.
Then it would have
Well,
been her hydrant.
Exactly.
In Boston now, you have to dig out the sidewalk.
Yeah,
And
that's
if
right.
you don't,
you get
you get
fined.
a ticket.
Yeah.
Give me-
Yep.
I always thought, even along 6A, I always thought that people were very remiss not going out and shoveling in front of it.
Fights over it in this
Yeah.
past storm.
Yeah.
So
Now they
the
have a
town obviously
machine.
bought A machine to
Yeah,
clear
yeah.
the sidewalk,
Right.
but in some places they didn't do it right.
Well, we don't have sidewalks that are designed to be plowed.
No,
Right?
it's
They're designed
difficult.
to hold telephone poles in the middle of them.
But they do have, now I've seen that machine. I worked up in New Hampshire for a while and in Keene, they had a similar machine. that put it up.
They
Yeah.
did it right away,
Yeah,
but some spots they just couldn't do.
Can't.
Yeah.
Because there's a telephone pole in the middle of the sidewalk
Or a tree,
or a
They
tree.
plowed the sidewalk on Setauket Road, I think.
did they?
I'm
Well, that
pretty
was,
sure they plowed
that,
that.
that's like a shared use path that was kind of designed appropriately.
Yeah, and that is
So like
plowed.
putting in the sidewalk 20 years after
Right.
the poles
Yeah.
went in.
well, you know, you do, you get off your machine, you shovel around the pole, then you continue on your machine, no?
Well, they didn't do that.
Well, what they did with that case with the
Yeah.
water fire hydrant, the town
My
came
friend
in
Charlie
very,
sent a letter and said, no.
Yeah.
Instead of, in the time it took them to write the letter,
The snow melted?
no, we could go out there with a shovel and open up the 2 feet.
Yep, yep. All right. You also have in your packet a letter or an email from Carolyn regarding the pool group.
I don't have.
No, because you came in early and the packets weren't really done, but you can have a
Should be in
copy
your
of it. Here
email.
you go. So she's invited, everyone is invited to the Yarmouth Senior Center on Friday. Well, she doesn't say what time, 3 o'clock. They become members of the Chamber of Commerce, so they get an official ribbon cutting event with the chamber. And
What was
they're
that for?
changing
I
their
forgot.
name.
pool.
Oh, the pool.
The pool, yeah. They're changing the name from First Light Herring to, I don't know if it's gonna be a surprise, or if you look down below where she signed this email, if it's gonna become Upstream Aquatics. Maybe that's gonna be their new name. And, they're looking to partner with Dennis and Harwich and I guess get some input at this event on Friday.
It was 3 o'clock on Friday at the senior center?
Yep. And-
I believe they're looking now to make it private funds.
I think so. It
She came
seems
over to
like,
my house again for an hour and, I said, well, look to see how they did with the ice rink, I mean,
Right.
You have to start looking, I said, you're gonna start a project for the town of Yarmouth, it's gonna be a 10-year project. And where do you stand on the list of capital?
Yeah.
right,
Budget. I
you
said,
have to get
"You're
into the
not-
capital
You're not
process.
into the list yet, So her last comment to me, I don't know what they're doing at this meeting, is that they're gonna try and do it with private funds.
And I think they're doing a year-round facility now they're looking at.
Yeah. Now
versus
it's
just
not
an outdoor.
outdoor, it'll
Oh,
be
yeah?
And there's been
indoors.
so many things online for people wanting to do indoor swimming or indoor lessons, and there aren't that many. I mean, unless you join the Y or one of the hotel pools, and they're not cheap. And then Brewster just has the outdoor pool at the camps now that they bought. So I think there is a need for an indoor for lessons and just recreation. So I think that's what they're slowly, getting a lot of input and consolidating,
Mhm.
which I think will be good.
Yeah.
well, how is this
Agreed.
being called a ribbon cutting? I don't
It's,
understand.
To change
it's a
the name.
It's a
Okay.
service that
Just
the
as-
Cape Cod, that the Yarmouth Chamber offers to members.
Okay,
So if you have an actual storefront,
okay,
they would come and do the ribbon cutting in front of your place of business, and you'd have hopefully lots of people coming by to see what you sell. And
okay.
because this is just actually more of an advocacy group now, is
Right,
how she
yeah.
put it to me, is they're really not going to be necessarily doing the project themselves, but they'll be
Yep.
advocates and help with fundraising. So that's why they're doing it at the senior center, because they don't have an actual physical location, because they're more of just a nonprofit member of the Yarmouth Chamber. And how does the chamber extend their benefits to a nonprofit? Well, you borrow a location, I guess, for a little event,
They're having refreshments.
raise awareness, meet the players.
But the ribbon cutting to me is you're opening something,
Yeah.
Right,
but they're opening,
Their business.
their new
Their
name,
new
their
name.
new,
Yeah.
vision for this group to
Well, if anything, she's very persistent in wanting to move this forward.
Yeah.
And I think it's smart going the regional
Yeah,
approach,
Yeah.
because.
because we know it's,
Because during the off season, the numbers are
All the
fewer.
more reason why it was premature to come to us,
Mhm.
to have us pay for a
feasibility study.
feasibility.
yeah.
This thing may not even end up in Yarmouth.
Right,
Right.
So
'Cause we know
suppose
that-
they get a space in Dennis.
Right.
Yeah.
Then we just wasted all that money.
Right.
But I think she's been really good at listening to a lot of people, taking it in
Mhm.
and pivoting as she's needed to. I mean, she hasn't been stuck on this one route. She's really pivoted
No,
around.
she's
And
doing
it's
great with
changed
that.
as they're getting
Mhm.
input and information from people of all ages, from all the towns. So I think that's
Right.
been really good.
And it's
She's
good
on the
that,
right route.
Yeah,
it's good that people, like, she came in and had an idea. She learned a lot from
Right.
presenting the idea.
Yeah.
I think other people should be encouraged if they have ideas about improvements, preservations and so on in this town. They come in, it may not fit exactly
Right.
at that moment in time, but they get ideas, they have a communication, and then it takes off.
But one thing I'd like to add is that I think it's important when somebody comes and submits a partial application. If we have a checklist saying, are you a 501c3? Yes, attach that. I think, and again, we spend a lot of time and a lot of effort in educating, and I dare say that's not our job, if you will. So that I think it's important that if somebody is not and does not have the designation, then yes, if they want to do it informally or whatever, but I really think the amount of time that was spent, and I'm not saying it wasn't good spent, but it just took away from.
Well,
Yeah.
there's a checklist and she didn't have any of the backup.
Right, so
she didn't
Don
have the
Marie, that's a
benefit
front
commitment.
end,
She didn't have the 501c3.
that's a front end issue, so.
and it's right.
Well,
She's a
and
good
Dawn's
example,
Dawn had
and
told
the
her
other one
Any
is,
number of times that she didn't have this stuff. So she didn't, and I love her persistence, but she really didn't want to listen to what Dawn was telling her.
Right.
and a lot of times the applicants, like the other one was the adult shared living
Yeah.
guy, they kind of beg to just get in and talk and hear, listen, because those are two really good examples of people with great ideas, great intentions, but no concept of how things
What the
actually work in
procedure is,
government.
yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, we can have them, we can say, okay, you're a special case, you're informal, you get 10 minutes in front of the committee, take good notes.
Yeah.
But I'd like to, dovetail on that the annual meeting, pre-application meeting that we've had, we haven't had one and whether it's for COVID or whatever.
Yeah.
We have an open meeting and encourage people to come to that
And present.
and present. And that's the forum.
That's a
Not,
good
not,
point. We wanna,
not during,
dates?
Not during
You
the
know,
application process.
that's right. So it's
Yeah.
before that.
It's
And
preliminary
and I
session,
think
so,
the last time we
yeah.
did it, wasn't it at the new church?
Before me.
Well,
Look at me.
during
Before me,
COVID,
too.
we did it here because we had to use the hearing room to
Right.
do
Right.
Zoom.
Zoom and
But we-
multiple accesses.
We did them at New Church, we did them at the Cultural Center.
That's right.
We
Right.
always did those.
So, so that should dovetail when we say the applications are going to be available on this date. We have an open meeting, this is your chance. And if we get past that date, then sorry, people want to do it individually, then, by all means, but,
Yep.
But you're saying that, so if somebody has an idea, I remember that fella, he's gone now, but Barron, Mr.
Tom Barron?
Yeah.
Yeah. He always had ideas and
Yep.
would come forward, and he wasn't necessarily all together on the application, I don't think. The thing is that there has to be, I guess, clear direction for people who just have an idea as opposed to a person who has a completed packet. Okay? And So where do they go with that idea? Are you saying that they shouldn't come to this committee with that idea? They should only come to this committee with the completed packet? And if so, where do they go? Do they go to Dawn Marie and say, okay, I have an idea? And then you help them with the information they need to put together in order to create the packet?
Yeah, that definitely happens. Yep.
It happens, but I mean, what's the step? If I have an idea, I want to put in a, whatever it is, in the town of Yarmouth, and I think it'd be a great idea, and I've heard of the Community Preservation Committee, and I hear they have money, and I'd like to access some of that money, and yet I don't know everything about the packet, I don't have everything together. Who do I go talk to?
Well, usually what I say in that situation, I go, start working on the application
Mhm.
and you'll find out what you're missing and what you need to get.
But what
And
you,
call me and we'll walk through it, I'll
Okay.
help you get some of this stuff. I can't help you set up a 501c3.
no, of course not, that's not
But-
what I'm saying.
I can help with other pieces of it.
But you're saying, here's the application, which is fine. If you have any questions about it, get back to me, and then when,
We have been doing that.
okay, and that's great,
Yeah.
because I don't want to see people
Yeah,
thwarted when they come in
right.
feeling that, wait a minute, I've just hit another bureaucratic aspect of the town
Yeah.
government, and they gave me nothing but a hard time about this, that, and the other
Oh, I
thing.
think Don's been really good about it.
Well, that's great. I just
Tells me
want,
all the time
I mean,
about it,
that's-
and, a couple of
And-
people just don't want to listen.
well, yeah, I
that-
understand that.
But I
Yeah.
think George's point is well taken too, in that if somebody has an idea and it's just a loosey-goosey idea kind of, they can come and present it and we can kind of get a
Well,
sense
they
of.
can, but I'd still
this-
rather see them come to Don and explain.
That's
than
right.
tell 'em
And that's
they-
fine.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Right, yeah.
That's right. I mean, our job is to weigh completed applications.
Mhm.
And we have a process, and maybe we do 2 open forums, but come to it, and if you have specific questions, hopefully fill it out, but nobody's trying to obstruct, Paul.
Yeah,
mean,
no, I
We
understand.
have it on our website. We have a process, we have an application, and we have, an able person to answer those questions.
Because you think like Bob Kelly came in to talk about that bridge, right?
Okay.
Mhm.
Because again, he didn't have a complete application, but he just needed the feedback and the,
What does he
thinking
need?
out loud
Right.
and
So that's okay,
it's always a good discussion, right? Because,
that's okay.
He was
there's-
identifying a need
yeah,
and.
well, and he found out
Yeah.
that, he's not gonna be ready for a while.
Right, right.
And that's,
And then it's
I mean,
complicated too,
help-
because who
yeah.
owns that property? If I
We
remember
also
right.
found
it's
out
the
we don't own the
complications.
property.
that we
Right.
don't, because it's,
We don't.
The restaurant owns
the
the
restaurant,
property.
yeah.
So,
Yeah,
but
so-
again,
but-
that's okay, to come in for him,
And have an
that was
informal
okay.
review.
And so it was I wasn't here for that day when he came in, but so it was a short little presentation he made about it, kind of inquiring about things and so on. That step is okay. It would be really nice if in a perfect world, people understood the whole process, that it doesn't necessarily start with coming in here one day and starting to talk about your project, but it starts before that. It starts with visiting your office and so on. and so
People
forth.
have to understand
Yeah.
that you can't call up the application on September 1st and be able to file that application on time because it needs letters of
Of
support.
course, of
And
course.
committee
Yeah.
meetings, whether it's historical or whether it's open space or recreation or
get that.
whatever it is.
Mhm.
And you have to go to a lot of different town departments in order to get all the information that you need. So, I mean, on Yankee Village, I started in May to get that
Mhm.
application coming. I had to go to the fire department to see if there's underground USTs and the police department and everything. There's a lot of different departments that you have to go,
Mhm.
and you can't file an application in a week.
Well, a lot of times it's not black and white either.
Right.
Whether it would qualify or we'd entertain it, that's really confusing to people,
Yeah.
myself included. People ask me and I go, I don't know.
But that's what I mean. That's why it's nice. It starts with Dawn Marie, and she kind of lays it out for everybody. Here's the application. This is what you have to do. Let me know if you have any questions, kind of thing. That does explain to folks that they have places to go before they bring it as a completed application. That's all I'm looking for, That's all I think anybody else would be looking for, because you know how uninformed people are,
Right.
And
There's a lot of people of the inquiries, there's always a couple that They call, they ask, we talk,
You never hear
they
from
never hear from you. If they look at that application, no doubt they're like, oh, never mind, never mind.
And what about, just, it brings to mind that didn't we pass something where they can come in with a minor, like a $10,000 application for,
Well, we talked about micro grants.
We never did.
Mini grants.
With the mini grants,
Well, the
but
thing is, right, those groups, people who want $10,000 or less, don't have it to spend. They can't get reimbursed.
Mhm.
They're like,
Oh,
"If
yeah.
I had $10,000, I wouldn't be asking you for
Yeah,
$10,000.
yeah.
And there are actually a lot of projects that do get funded at less than, less than 20, let's say.
There are the
Um,
funding sources.
So, and then we also looked a little bit at the application. It's like, oh, you want to have a quick, one-page application. What are you going to leave off?
Right.
And you look at the application and there's nothing you can leave off. So they're going to go through that whole process to shell out their own $5,000 to get it reimbursed.
That's why in talking with Karen and Don, they kind of talked me out of it because you're right. You got to go through the same
Mhm.
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
whether it be 10,000 or 1,000,000.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot of work for $5,000.
And like you
I mean,
said,
on
No,
both
I-
sides,
I-
for
I
the
agree.
applicant and for the,
We have to
Staff.
justify it. with-
they
Yeah.
don't
with
have it to begin with.
Attachments.
So
yeah.
you
Yeah.
can't reimburse them because they don't have it.
I know. But although, someday someone's gonna have to really explain to me so I can get through my thick head about the Friends of Bass River, because they worked on a different set of rules, and that I still don't get,
yeah.
I mean, I'm sure I could if I really paid attention, but,
Well, it's one of those, again, it's not black and white. It's not a town project, but
it is now.
I know, but the town never has the money and they come to us.
Yeah,
I
true.
mean, we're here for the access to town waters doing that. They don't have any money. We're giving it to them.
Mhm.
So do you want to, I don't know. It's tough. Do we want to kill those projects?
I know.
Just one other question. Have we set on the date that we're gonna release applications for this year?
No, I was gonna say, that's some other stuff we have to talk about is that annual public hearing meeting. Applications. If they're gonna change significantly.
So what was our date this year for the applications?
Wasn't it in September? I thought we talked about possibly doing it in July. Releasing the applications.
And the applications.
I don't want to do it in July because
We'll go with the 4th of July.
perfect.
Probably around
Perfect.
I have September 20th,
It was
September
somewhere around there.
18th. Yeah,
September's a nice time because everybody's done with summer.
Well, that's what
Now they're
most
getting back to
people who are
work.
Applying,
Yeah,
that's after Labor Day, they're all set to get on.
yeah, back to school, back to work, and so on.
I'm
So.
going to the Azores in April.
There you go. You'll
days.
be back by September, right?
This year was
No, I
easy
mean
'cause
April, I
we
mean
didn't have a lot
October.
of applications.
Right.
It's when you get 12 applications that it gets troublesome.
So if you had the applications available in the first half of September
Yeah,
and do the public hearing, in the beginning of October, that public meeting?
well, as George was saying, kind of like the public meeting should come first.
Right.
So do
Before the
that in
application.
August?
I don't want to do anything. in
I know.
August.
Can you do the
And I
public
don't-
meeting in June?
I
In
don't think it
June?
would be well attended.
Could you
if you
do it
did
at
it
the
in
end of May, June? The public meeting? To
I
get
think you could.
That makes sense. Yeah.
people information, and they've got, not that they're gonna work on it all summer, but they know that they've gotta
Mhm.
go to different places and,
But we encourage people to come there with
right,
the ideas.
right.
Right. Because the application's on the website. I mean,
Yeah.
they
Right,
can
yeah.
start,
anybody can call up
And
this year.
They
yeah,
can
I
start
always-
doing-
When I get the call, I say, the application changes very, very, very little from year to year. So
That's right.
just start a draft
That's
using
right.
what's existing.
Yep. Yeah.
Yep. And with the
Um,
new
I think it makes
communications,
sense to Do the meeting in May.
and with the new communications director, we can hopefully get, a lot more visibility out there.
So when did we release it last September?
I think it was, I feel like it was even before that.
It's around well, Friday is September 20th. Why don't we make it that? Is that good
That's for what?
for the
Yeah.
application due
Releasing the
date?
No.
Due date?
Oh, due
Due
date.
date.
Due date.
Oh, I thought you meant release it.
Oh,
Due
no,
date.
release it earlier.
Due September 20th.
Yeah, so if we have the, public meeting, it's like, here's your due date.
What if you
So
open
the
the
public
application
meeting-
August 23rd?
No.
Public
that won't
meeting in
be 3
June?
Weeks, no. So if you do, I mean, really, there's no reason you can't open the applications at the public meeting.
Absolutely.
You
that
know,
can
I
be the
mean,
open
they're
date.
ready, they're posted, just start working on them. But if you want to do a May public hearing, May 27th, I think is
Memorial Day.
Memorial Day.
Perfect.
I don't know what the 20th is. Oh, it's Victoria Day in Canada is May 20th. And the 23rd is a full moon, so don't be doing it.
How about the week before, like the 15th?
Get some exciting projects on that day.
We could do that. I know Karen's gonna be out of town, I think starting the 18th, but that's fine. She
Yeah, I'm
doesn't have
out
to
of
be here for
town
this.
18th weekend.
This May 18th weekend? Because would you want to do it like on a Wednesday evening? Wednesday afternoon, when you typically would have a
Yeah.
meeting
Yeah.
anyway?
Like the 22nd or 29th or something like that. Are you away Memorial Day weekend week? Or are you just away for a long weekend? or-
I don't know.
I'm away, I know I'm away Memorial Day weekend and
If you get
College
Memorial Day,
graduation.
you're not gonna have anybody come.
Right.
No, you
That
can't
week?
do.
Like the
Memorial Day.
29th?
I'm not talking about Memorial Day. I'm talking
No,
about
a
the week of
Wednesday.
Memorial Day. Yeah.
Yeah, we do it on a
Wednesday would
Wednesday.
be all right.
So that's the 22nd, 29th. maybe
When is
June
Memorial Day?
27th.
Okay.
I would think doing it in June is,
Too late.
no.
Too
I
early?
mean, if applications are due September 20th, I mean,
We give them plenty of time to,
yeah, so,
with the committees.
so we get through the holiday, we just say, hey, start working now on it, in March, April, May, June. But it's like, here's a stake
Yeah.
in the ground,
Well, people have to understand that they need those letters of recommendation,
right?
And those, some of the committees don't meet as
Right.
often as others.
Right.
I mean, conservation meets every other week, but not
Yeah.
every meet.
So.
We didn't agree on a date to have the public hearing.
Well, she has to see what's being new. Who meets
Oh,
on
Go
Wednesdays?
after Memorial
Us.
Day,
Mhm.
the 1st of June there somewhere. on Wednesday.
June 5th, June 12th, want to focus
June
on
5th.
those two?
June
June
5th.
5th.
Okay. June 5th. And then, if you want to have the Zoom access, I think we kind of have to do it downstairs.
Mhm.
Because we're not going to try to do Zoom off-site. That's
Oh, that's
usually
fine.
a fail. So, but if you'd rather do a different, stellar, beautiful location,
That's fine. People in
No.
the town hall.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, and it's functional, so,
When does baseball start?
I don't like doing it here, but we have to. We had some great ones before.
well, I don't know if you still have to. I mean, I don't know what really the status of this,
Well, if
Remote
you can't have to operate
access.
on them, you have to
So-
nowadays.
Yeah, you do.
What time do you want the public meeting?
6?
yeah, yeah. good.
Yep, I'll check and make sure that it's available.
Mhm.
I'm gonna check with Mary Alice,
And then see if we
and
can
the
get,
planning board.
see if we can get a couple of speakers. You gotta entertain people. They just don't. Read.
Right. Who's really good? Let's think. Oh, we could get Rick always. He's presentation, Rick Bishop. Do presentations about
Good.
projects. And he just comes to mind because
That
that's what he
public
spends
meeting
all
was
his time
excellent.
doing.
How about the candidate who got funding and completed the project?
Well, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, we
Okay,
did.
is that Rick? Is that what you're
Yeah.
referring to?
Friends of Bass
We
River.
did it with
Okay.
Don Nash and he was great.
Mhm.
Lauren.
Mhm.
You know, who I haven't heard from too is the Cape Playhouse.
Mhm,
That would be interesting.
mhm.
Yep, because they might like to do something. They should be working now on that north facade or whatever it was,
They're
the,
not working on it right now. I drove by it last week.
okay.
But the weather's not exactly conducive to that.
No, but I know that they were gonna start,
But it might help them going into their season to
yeah.
get word out in Yarmouth.
I don't know what's going on at the Cape Playhouses. Was that before my time?
Yeah, I guess it was it the maybe 2019 or 2020 that they got a grant to do a lot of preservation of the building. They got it from us, they got it from a bunch of different art foundations, they got it from the Dennis CPC, and they've done a ton of work.
Yeah.
But they haven't quite finished the project yet. They're supposed to finish it up this year. But it would be, yeah, that would be a good,
Maybe
Good
Kathy
potential
could talk
speaker.
about the
We're doing
driving
one
project.
side. We agreed to do
Get
one
people
wall
excited when.
exterior.
yeah.
Well, that shows the diversity of the type of projects
Yeah.
that get funded, so that's
How
very,
about, we
that's
could, should
enticing.
get somebody from the YD Red Sox to talk about their fabulous safety netting project. Cause that'll be like,
How exciting that is.
it's
It
almost
just
like
shows
a
the diversity
unveiling,
of-
Exactly.
Yeah, the diversity of
Exactly.
projects.
you know?
Have some fun with it.
That could be a good,
Because,
It could be great.
doesn't know anything
The
about what we're
manager.
doing. but
oh,
I love him. He's so sweet. He's so
Um,
sweet, man. And his
and
wife-
again, it's just such a high visibility project, you know, and
About the day he gets here.
I was gonna say, I don't know when. April starts.
Well, he comes the first week in June.
So what I'll say, yeah, keep like kicking around ideas. I'll look into the June 5th date. And do you want to set a next meeting date? Where are we now? You want to wait to hear what the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee want. I don't know if you're even gonna have to see them this year.
We shouldn't have to, but whatever they want.
So where are we today? February 21st?
Mhm.
Well, I'm out on vacation the week of March 25th, so if for some reason we had to meet within the next 3 weeks, I guess we would have to meet in the next 3 weeks, but we still got all of April.
I would do it sometime towards the end of April.
Because the town meeting is not until here.
So why don't we just meet before town meeting?
You want to plan like the 17th or something, or the 24th, or literally like the 30th at 5 o'clock? We don't have to decide right now.
Now that gets kind of chaotic.
Yeah, baseball
Yeah.
starts on
Yeah,
the
like-
15th.
Can we do the Wednesday before?
The 24th?
24th.
Yeah.
All right.
It always starts on the 15th. Legally, you can't.
Oh, it does.
NCAA.
All right, Wednesday, the 24th of April for the next meeting,
Mhm.
right here. And minutes, you have the minutes from December 13th.
I move the meetings as presented.
Second,
Motion by George, seconded by Judy, all in favor of the minutes. What date was this?
December
Sorry,
13th.
13th.
December 13th. All in favor?
Aye,
Paul?
aye, Paul, aye.
Lee?
I haven't read them. I guess I say aye. Do I say aye if I haven't read them?
Christine, I.
Okay.
George, I.
Judith, aye.
Sorry, Joe.
Gary, aye.
don't worry about it.
Speed reader?
Yeah.
Well done, Don Marie, thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So if our application is gonna be due on September 20th, how long a process do we take before we start inviting people in and all that?
Usually start scheduling right after we get them in.
Right, like the first meeting, you would go through and kind of review them. You would get them.
Right?
So if it was September 20th is the deadline,
Right.
you would get them probably around October 4th. You'd get the applications to start reviewing.
I'm gonna be away from October 3rd to the 10th.
Well, that's
So,
fine.
Yeah. I'm going
So
to the Azores.
then we would probably meet like on the 10th
Okay,
and as a group,
Every week.
kind of review
right.
and then have interviews start October 17th.
So I would miss that first meeting.
That's a perfect world. I mean, that's like
Yeah,
the best, you know, if
yeah.
everything comes together. But it gives you a lot of flexibility because then you've got all of October and November, well, except for that last week, of course, Thanksgiving week of
Right,
November doesn't
right.
count. And hopefully not have to like have more than one or maybe two meetings in December,
Right.
but it all depends on, yeah, on how many applications we get.
Mhm.
Sounds good.
Yes, Christine?
Yeah, I'd just like to mention the passing of John Sears. John was noted in this town. He was a descendant of the Mayflower. He did historical things. He was a fire chief, and I didn't realize today he's one of the founding members of the Yarmouth Conservation Trust.
The fire captain.
Yeah.
Not a chief.
So, and he was an eloquent speaker at town meetings. If John stood up, you knew that you wanted to be on his side, and he had something important to say. So it's a big hole in this town, you know, and
Sure.
visiting is tomorrow at Hallett's with a service on Friday at the Methodist Church.
Okay.
I meant to ask one other question, if I may. We didn't discuss Wild Rose Terrace acquisition again. When would that be brought up again?
You know, I have drafted the notifications to the recipients. Those will go out maybe this week. They should go out this week. The drafting to the applicants whose applications have been held over for future consideration takes a little bit more, you know, targeted, you know, not just a generic congratulations, here are your conditions, and here's the amount. So I don't know what I will hear back from him after I send him the letter to let him know that. I mean, I've spoken to him personally and I haven't heard anything back yet,
Okay.
but we'll give him the formal letter and see what his reaction is to that.
In the formal letter, just remind me if we just say,
It'll just say, you know, thank you for your interest. You know, the committee has chosen not to take any action on your proposal
at this time.
at this time,
Okay.
but it's held open for future consideration. If you want to come back with a different offer, or I mean, we have to, I don't know what would put us in a position of having that second site evaluation done. That's, I think, where we left it, is that
Right.
it needed an independent site inspection evaluation to go back to open space to get some kind of recommendation from open space, because open space didn't take any position on it. So
Right.
kind
It's a
of this
locked
group
piece of
actually
land,
kind
yeah,
of can't,
remember,
yeah.
right?
because you
Yeah.
require it to have the support of open space committee.
Just felt that he wasn't independent.
Right.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, that's kind of a blatant conflict. So we'll see what he says after I get that out to him.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for the
Thank you.
That. Thank you very much.
Motion to adjourn?
Christine,
Seconded.
seconded by George. All in favor, Paul,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Christine,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Judy,
Aye.
Gary.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good meeting. Thank
Thank
you,
you
Don.
very
Marie.
much.
All